Yeah, so Facebook and Google have claimed that their changes to their algorithm is to prop up more credible information and make sure the authorities on the subjects are promoted.
Hmm.
Um, but it's kind of worrying that in the ag space that non-farm websites are coming out on top. I mean
Right.
the authority on how cows are taken care of should be like veterinarian, a
Hmm.
farmer, or a university doing research in cow care. Like those types of articles should be the leading search results, not like a vegan website that's just pushing out false information.
Hello and welcome to Talk Ag to Me, the podcast dedicated to improving ag literacy around the globe. I'm your host, Brandon Black, and in today's episode, we're talking all about censorship and how it impacts agriculture. Here to talk about this topic with us is our guest from earlier this week, Stephen, the creator of the Dairy Muse TikTok and also the owner of the Progressive Dairy blog. And I'm going to go ahead and let him give his own little introduction and talk about his project. So, Stephen, go ahead.
Hi, Brendan. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I've been involved in blogging and social media for like the last 10 years. And so over the years, I've seen a lot of different things happening. But right now, one of the biggest issues that is hitting the livestock industry is the issue of censorship.
Mhm.
And my recent post about and censorship's been a big issue in animal agriculture topics like milk and dairy products.
Mhm.
And even people involved in the carnivore and keto community have noticed that there's been a lot of censorship in their communities talking about dairy and meat. So I thought I would just put together some examples of how this is affecting um, agriculture, how we're talking about ag and dairy products. So
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, if you want to provide some of those examples and kind of just give the context of maybe why you think this is happening as well.
sure, yeah. So probably noticed this happening more like in 2019. So Google started censoring like a lot of search results. My blog, mostly write about cows and how I take care of cows, and I answer a lot of the common questions that people have about cows. So when people ask a question about cows in Google, a lot of times my articles would show up on the top of those search results. But these days, when you type those same questions in, I noticed that a lot of non-agriculture blogs come to the top answering those questions.
Hmm.
So, like nutritionfacts.org is a vegan website, and they're actually the leading source on Google for some of these questions.
Hmm.
And that's pretty concerning for me as a dairy farmer because the whole reason of starting my blog was to make sure that credible information got out there and that people knew the truth about how animals are being treated on farms. So uh,
Hmm.
it's kind of frustrating when you write the answer to a question and then Google thinks that you're not credible enough to be the resource or the answer for that topic. So
Yeah. No, I can see how that could be frustrating. And I mean, I've definitely seen, over the years, especially like you mentioned, it seems to be a lot more prevalent, like since 2019. A lot more agricultural posts getting taken down, or people just straight up not believing what they say, just because of how long they've been fed, false information that kind of creates this, this weird stigma of like every time they hear from an actual person in agriculture, they just immediately just don't trust what they say, which I think is kind of dangerous.
that's right. Yeah, and I thought it was just happening to my blog and my topic, but when I started going through some of the other communities that have been affected by this, like keto and carnivore, like a lot of those blogs have also been censored, and
Hmm.
a lot of them noticed a big dip in traffic since 2019. And it's interesting because a lot of those websites got a huge reduction in views, but then I guess nutritionfacts.org got like quite a bit more traffic,
Hmm.
and they're not a more credible source of information than anyone else. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, so that was one. That was when I first started noticing it happening quite a bit, but then I also noticed on some other platforms that there's been censorship going on. For example, on Facebook in 2019, they shut down this huge low carb, high fat diet group called the Banting 7 Day Meal Plan.
Hmm.
And Banting is just the South African name for the low fat, high or low carb, high fat diet or
Hmm.
the ketogenic diet. So I guess they had like 1.6 million people subscribed to that page, but Facebook just shut them down for no real reason. They said that they were spreading false health information.
Huh.
So they decided to just shut that whole page down on that basis.
Mm.
But there's been a whole lot of other incidents where Facebook has been censoring. I've talked to a lot of other farmers, and they've said that they're trying to sell ag products on Facebook, and they keep getting their posts removed. I guess you can't buy, or I mean, you can't sell animals on Facebook, but a lot of the farmers that I know were trying to sell beef
Mm.
or eggs, and Facebook was taking their posts down or flagging them. Um, so it's pretty interesting because Facebook allows the sale of other products, but then they won't allow the sale of animal-based products.
Yeah, no, that seems kind of backwards. And do you think this is kind of an algorithmic thing? So like they actually like structured Facebook around looking for these posts and taking them down, or is this kind of like a deliberate like they're just targeting specific types of posts?
I guess they're targeting just certain types of posts, and
Mm.
they might have an algorithm working on that. But
Hmm.
um, Facebook's not really transparent in that way, saying why they're taking down the posts or for what reason.
Yeah.
But
No, I've noticed that recently in a lot of different media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, even like YouTube is getting really bad about it right now. Even like gaming sites like streaming sites like Twitch are getting really bad about this kind of stuff where they just straight up ban users. They completely take down their pages. They do all kinds of stuff and they give no reason whatsoever to do it. Like sometimes they'll say like, oh yeah, you violated community guidelines without saying what those community guidelines were, and sometimes they don't even give them a reason. It just one day they log in and their account's gone, and so
yeah,
that seems to be a little frustrating for a lot of people, which understandably.
yeah, it's super frustrating because when you're talking about food and like cow care, like those are topics that shouldn't be flagged or censored. They
Mm,
seem like a lot of the censorship that's going on these days is in the political arena, but when we're talking about food, it's not political or shouldn't be political. So
right.
it's just kind of worrying that you know just the conversation about food is being censored.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And you said that you've noticed that even on Google, on different search engines, that reputable sources that have to do with agriculture are often like either lower on the page or they're not on the page at all when it comes to the search results, and usually it goes to like a vegan based website or other websites that don't have more credibility by any means. And so, what do you think is what do you think is causing that? Again, is it like an algorithmic thing? Is it that people are just visiting that page more, or is it kind of just do you think that people are just deliberately trying to make sure that those pages are getting silenced?
Yeah, so Facebook and Google have claimed that their changes to their algorithm is to prop up more credible information and make sure the authorities on the subjects are promoted.
Hmm.
Um, but it's kind of worrying that in the ag space that non farm websites are coming out on top. I mean
Right.
the authority on how cows are taken care of should be like veterinarian, a
Hmm.
farmer, or a university doing research in cow care. Like those types of articles should be the leading search results, not like a vegan website that's just pushing out false information or
Right. Yeah.
things that are just wrong.
And so in your article, you actually mentioned one of the one of the videos that you got banned was of a cow getting her hose trimmed, and that it was removed for violent and graphic content. Meanwhile, like this kind of stuff can be you know um just typically extremely helpful for a lot of people who are in the either in the ag industry or just early in their education, trying to learn about how healthy processes of taking care of animals can be done. It's almost more dangerous that that video gets taken down, because that means somebody could do it incorrectly, or they could cause some level of that procedure to go wrong, and seriously hurt their animals.
Yeah, so TikTok is a big area where I've encountered a lot of censorship.
Mm,
Yeah, like you said, my hoof trimming video got censored, and that's just showing procedure on how I take care of the cows, and that shouldn't be considered graphic content. But when you think about it, like anything that we do on a farm could be considered graphic content. So if they
right.
use that basis, anything uh, could be taken down.
Right.
uh,
Well, it seems nowadays their definition of graphic content is just anything that happens naturally. That you can't post cows giving birth. You can't post any kind of vaccination process or any kind of medical procedure or anything that happens. Like it just seems like anything that's not happening in somebody's house is at that point just a community guideline violation.
yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, like there's TikTok accounts like the Vegan Teacher who just spread false information about animal agriculture,
Hmm.
calling dairy farmers rapists and murderers.
Yep.
And her account's allowed to be allowed to keep going without being, subject to the same community guidelines that everyone else is subject to.
Right. And that's something that I've talked about somewhat, briefly on the show before, but something I've been wanting to kind of cover is that, she's capable of limiting her comment section to only pro vegan comments. And, like there are accounts that are capable of, restricting the amount of comments or even turning comments off altogether. And like that kind of stuff is just, that's like kind of the definition of closed-mindedness. You're basically preventing any form of communication to happen at that point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can't even go on her page and provide good examples on how you're taking care of the animals. You're completely like blocked from the conversation.
Right. Which, I mean, that just kind of seems like, dangerous from, from the perspective of, growth and development of ideas. Because at that point, anyone who watches her stuff, the only thing they're exposing themselves to in the comment section is stuff that supports her. So like they don't even hear the other side, because the other side doesn't really get a say.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the danger of it because if TikTok uses the community guidelines to restrict producers on what they can and can't show, it really limits our voice and you know it limits us from being transparent about our practices and how we take care of the animals.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think is, which I mean, I know this is kind of a difficult question to answer because that's kind of why we're having the conversation, but what do you think would be the solution to this kind of thing? What can the agricultural, media producers do about this?
Well, that's kind of what my article goes into. I point out this censorship is an issue, but then it's like, what can we do as animal producers to kind of combat this? And the first thing that we need to do is acknowledge that there's a problem, right?
Hmm.
And that this is a huge problem. I'm not in I'm not against veganism, but if we can't even discuss pros and cons and our side of the topic, um,
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's a difficult topic to to get into, especially because like you're getting to a point now where people who don't interact with this kind of stuff are getting to call the shots on the way that people basically not just run their businesses but run their lives too, and that's it's a really dangerous game to play when you're getting to that level of detail.
yeah. I mean, one other thing I thought of ways to combat this would be to, us as ag producers need to come together and recognize that this is a problem, but maybe engage these platforms and try to communicate the problems that we're having and communicating our story.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really productive, idea, and that's it's actually something that I'm working on a lot right now. With the podcast, is trying to get as many different, ag like media head people, like ag TikTokers, YouTubers, Instagram, influencers, podcasters, kind of all together and on one team and say like, okay, look, we're all facing the same issue here. Let's figure out some new ways to go about dealing with it.
I'm involved in the dairy industry, and I've
Hmm.
been trying to get some of our organizations to tackle this head on, but kind of the pushback I've been getting is that this isn't a real issue and that's not important. But being a being engaged in social media and seeing this happening, like you can see that this is a huge problem now, and it's going to be a huge problem later if we
Hmm.
don't get in front of it.
Yeah,
So,
no, absolutely, and that's it's exactly like you said. It's going to be a bigger problem later as time goes on. And I've heard from, I mean, even other ag podcasters. There are some of them out there that don't believe that talking to the public or trying to get our word out there is important because either they're not going to listen or they're not going to care. Well, that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. If we don't try, it's going to end up being really really bad for us because those are the same people that are voting on things that affect our lives.
yeah, and it's pretty frustrating the pushback that I've gotten just in the dairy industry. Like I posted it to our DMI Facebook group, and a lot of dairy producers have told me, censorship's not a big deal. The problem is just we need more moderation. Um,
Yeah, no.
like you don't know all the examples, but um, it's really frustrating when you're getting pushback just from your own community, and
Hmm. Yeah,
and,
no, I know exactly how you feel.
and like I think the main thing is people don't understand like how, like, for example, me and my dad were in Silicon Valley eating lunch, and we were at a restaurant, and my dad ordered some milk, and the server was like appalled that he was ordering a glass of milk. And what people don't understand is that the Silicon Valley, like that's where these tech companies are.
Mhm.
That's who's moderating all our content.
Mhm.
And if they have that kind of reaction in person, what kind of reaction do they have when they see our content being posted online? Um, it's a huge problem.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that you're absolutely right. And they're kind of the people that we need to be getting to the most out of all of this, and they're the ones that are missing the message by far. Like
Hmm.
if we could find an effective way to get almost kind of like infiltrate them and kind of like get a good conversation going with them, then they might alleviate at least some of the issues that we're facing. But that's a lot easier said than done right now.
So another example I had was Doc Nina Teicholz. She wrote the book Big Fat Surprise. Anyway, she posted on her Facebook page about how the carnivore and keto community is getting censored. She said that one of her posts had the word bacon fat in it, and it got censored. And so I shared this example to some other dairy farmers and pointed out that this is a huge problem. And um, um, like this, I keep getting like the same reasons back that um,
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that that's part of the issue is that we're not only are we not able to draw the lines on what's okay and what's not okay to say, we're not even getting to have a say in the conversation whatsoever, and that's it's getting more and more dangerous, and that's something that the ag industry isn't paying enough attention to. Like yeah, it's bad that we're getting censored and all that kind of stuff, but it's almost even worse that we can't even get our own side to to pick up the slack and help us fight back.
Exactly. We're the minority opinion and we're losing.
Mm-hmm.
another big. So we're experiencing censorship at the farm level, but then also like in the whole area of nutrition, because like our dairy organizations can't promote whole milk because the national dietary guidelines say that whole milk is bad. We have to promote low fat or non-fat milk. And there's been a lot of science in the last 10 years that show that dairy fat's actually really healthy for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's 400 different fatty acids in milk, and they're finding out that a lot of those fatty acids have beneficial effects on the body. The problem is like the dietary guidelines haven't been changed to reflect the current science, but the problem with using the guidelines to limit what speech you can, what you can and can't say, is that you'll never be able to change those guidelines showing the most recent scientific evidence.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be able to bring any of that to the forefront if your speech is being censored. So you're just really limiting the conversation, and you're I don't know, it has some negative repercussions.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I think that, hopefully, between, what you're doing on TikTok and what I'm doing, what some of the other like ag producers are doing, they're getting the word out there to some of the more, common consumers, and hopefully they're at least somewhat changing their minds on what's going on and making them kind of more aware of it. But, it's conversations like this that I think are going to resonate more with those who are impacted the most by it, which would be, people buying the food. If we kind of relate to them by saying like, look, the more we let this go on, the lower quality your food's going to be, the more expensive it's going to be, and the least healthy you're going to be. Like, just, you have to trust that we're doing what we're doing because it's going to protect you. And I think as we explain that to them, that might hopefully, flick a switch in their head that makes them realize that we're worth protecting too.
Yeah. So Facebook's partnered with this organization called Vegan Food Inc., and the organization is their mission is to educate parents and kids about the vegan diet and how to do veganism. The problem with that is that there's no scientific research that shows that vegan diet is healthier than an omnivore diet.
Right.
But they're taking that stance. Facebook pushes a lot of vegan products, and they allow them to promote. Well, they have a vested interest in pushing vegan products, and like Hannah said, the Google ventures being part of Impossible Foods, basically they have a financial incentive to be pushing one-sided conversation. So,
yeah. No, and it's not necessarily as simple as, let's just all boycott Facebook and they'll go away. They're a little bit too big for that to be effective. We're gonna have to kind of take another strategy to be able to take down that, that large of an operation.
That's right.
So, well, it sounds like we're at kind of an uphill battle right now. So I'm not sure exactly what the best course of action would be. I think that what we're doing right now is probably a good first step, at least getting the word out there, having some conversations about it, influencing hopefully some other people to have conversations about it and to kind of bring awareness to, more and more people. And, at best, we might be able to get enough people on our side that we'll be able to at least, combat the censorship and hopefully kind of bring agriculture back to mainstream conversations. But that's kind of going to be, as long as we're vigilant, we just keep going at it and hope that we don't get taken down.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I agree. We definitely got to get the awareness out there that this is a issue, and hopefully we can do something about it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I wanted to know, what do you think of talking to the Farm Bureau and DMI and CMAB and some of the, like the Milk Advisory Board, as far as getting some help and like backup?
I think that's honestly probably one of the best options, and I know that a lot of those organizations, maybe like Stephen already said, some of them are already kind of resistant to that kind of thing. But if we can convince some of the larger picture, that might be beneficial. I know the Farm Bureau is probably going to be on board as long as we can talk to the right people about it, because they're all about advocacy and education and that kind of stuff. So I think that there are definitely resources out there that are much larger than ourselves that we could utilize, as long as we go about we have to go about it in the right way. We can't just say, hey, we're mad because our stuff keeps getting taken down. We have to kind of draw out the picture for them and say, hey, look, if our stuff keeps getting taken down, this might be the long-term result, and then we're not going to like it if it gets to this point. So let's stop it now before it gets there.
Yes, I think it's a really good idea, and that's what we've been kind of working on the last 2 weeks or so. And we've contacted some other folks that are in different locations about it. And one of them is a pretty big dairy creator on TikTok. Because I think it's really important. And yeah, we're seeing it on TikTok quite a bit. I help with some of the TikTok videos. I deal with a lot of the vegan comments on there for him because
probably a good idea.
It's pretty frustrating, and he has a tendency of getting angry. So so sometimes I got to jump in there.
Yeah.
And I've also won 6 appeals on videos in a row.
Wow.
So I definitely get to take over that portion. And what you said about the vegan teacher, he didn't really acknowledge that, but yeah, it's a huge, huge issue. And the fact that she's just drinking her own bathwater on there is just gross. And then the fact that, you know, people are stitching and duetting her videos and laughing about it is, you know, funny and everything, but it's also just feeding her. And it just, I ended up, so I have actually blocked her from our account so she can't find us and I can't see any more of her content because it was making me physically ill.
Yeah, no, it's understandable, and I wish I could do the same, but I'm paying attention to what she's doing just so I have an idea of where they're at, you know, in terms of, you know, her followership, you know, kind of what they're up to, so I kind of just know what to expect. But
yeah,
I agree.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Did you see that she's actively targeting like TR Jones? So he's got about 500,000 followers. He's a dairy creator on there.
Yeah,
and
no,
so he's got that cow Red. Now every time he talks about that cow, those videos get taken down because of her. Are you
serious?
Yeah, she stitched one of his videos and did this whole thing about it. And so he's just being actively targeted right now. And he's like the nicest guy on there, I would think, out of all the dairy guys. He's super nice.
No, I've been trying to get him on an episode for a little while. He's been a little hard to reach, but yeah, no, that's terrible. He seems like such a great guy.
He's so nice. It's just, and these people on here are just great. And it's scary that, you know, she can take out somebody like that with 500,000 followers.
Right. Have you guys, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say she hasn't succeeded yet, but I mean, pretty much like he gets reported all the time. It's reduced his reach.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. And that kind of stuff is just, that's like intolerable, you know, because like, it's not like he's saying anything that's actively attacking anybody. He's not saying anything that's, you know, that's misinformative or aggressive. Like he's literally just trying to post his stuff, you know?
No, and that cow Red is a healthy cow. She's an awesome cow. That's why he just wants to share his cow. It's just like our Cora cow, you know, if she could do the same thing to us. And because we love that cow, she's funny. A lot of people like her. Like I think she's got over 1 million views on her videos alone. Just that one silly cow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. She's my favorite.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Discussing this topic for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
there's just so much.
There's so much to cover, and there's so many examples. But I also, you know, he didn't really go into like kind of like I wanted him to talk a little bit about the plant-based agenda. Right. And he really didn't cover that because, you know, if you look in history at some of the stuff going on with like basically government control and using, you know, because for so long, like nutrient dense animal source proteins have basically been kind of a symbol of like a healthy society or, and wealth and everything else. And when you remove that from people, it's not good. And you know, what did we talk about? I think we had like
in Soviet Russia, they took all the landowners in order to get them to obey the government. They took away all their cows and livestock, so that way they had to become reliant on the government for food, and instead of their own animals. So.
Yeah, and then in the 1950s, they were actually doing research into like using soy products as a cheap protein. You know, in order to feed the masses. Like there's a lot there as well. And it's kind of disturbing when you look at it as a whole, because it's not just one example. And there was also, you know, if you think about it, like the way the Native Americans, when they lost their buffalo, they lost their power.
Right. No, exactly.
There's that. And then what was the other one? I had them all written down for you. I don't know what you did with them.
Mussolini.
Oh yeah, Mussolini too. He wanted to replace polenta. Yeah, he wanted to add. Yes.
Huh.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah. No, I mean, even like, you know, even like the like older days of like, you know, the historical leaders, like meat was always kind of seen as like a symbol of power. You know, like you know, if you could afford meat, then that was a really, really big deal. You know, just because, which I mean, meat's still expensive, but like for the longest time, like only like royalty got to eat meat. Like everyone else ate like bread and fish, and like that was about it. Which I mean, fish is technically meat, but that's, you know, it's not like
not really
right. Yeah, it's like almost not it's like almost a vegetable basically, but yeah, no, it's kind of like meat has always been kind of seen as a symbol of power. So if you eradicate meat from society, then that kind of says a lot about your status.
Yeah, and it, you know, it's also a symbol of strength as well, which, you know, basically you said. It just it disturbs me what's going on there, and you have to ask, you know, why. And honestly, I just think they want, you know, partially like they want government control over food or cheap food source. It's a little scary.
No, I think that you're onto something with that. And so I mean, there's there's a lot to be said about, the whole censorship thing, because I mean we've seen this happen in other countries. Censorship always leads to worse things happening. It's
It
not
does.
just, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to stop you from saying it. It's like, if I can stop you from saying that, I can stop you from doing a lot of things, which means I control you now.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And yeah, and that's why it's such an issue, because we don't want the vegan teacher being able to answer all the questions for us.
Right. No, exactly. I'm completely with you on that.
Like veganism, like even though I don't agree with veganism, I don't want to censor them and say
Right.
that they can't talk about it. Like they're
No.
perfectly free to make up their own minds, and if they want to be vegan, they have the right to do so. But don't ban other people from eating meat, and don't
Right.
censor me from talking about the health benefits of my products, because
with these plant-based companies, these are huge corporations. These are not family farms. They are not local. And their entire goal is like, they just have to sway public opinion to actually want these products, because I guarantee they can make it cheap and affordable, and I guarantee they could possibly replace these animal proteins if the public likes it.
And I'd say, like, in the last 10 years, like, animal agriculture has done a really good job of getting online and starting to show how farming's done, how we take care of the animals. And I think that goes contrary to a lot of the vegan agenda. They don't want us showing all the good that we're doing and how we're taking care of the animals. They want to promote all this false information. And if they're able to censor us, then they can get away with promoting the false information, because there's nothing to rebuttal it.
Right. No, exactly. It's all about control. It's all about being able to say that, that nobody else can fight them on it, kind of thing. It's just a power trip at that point.
It is, and it's gross.
It is.
It's very frustrating. I've been so frustrated by it the last few weeks, and so is Steven, just seeing what's going on. And then because I handle all the TikTok stuff, I get a full blast of it like every day.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it's not an easy thing to have to deal with. I mean, luckily I haven't run into any of it yet, but that's because I'm still a small platform. But seeing that kind of stuff happen to people who actually do have a voice is just frustrating, because like for so long we haven't been in the in the media sphere, and then now we're here and they're trying to kick us out again.
Oh yeah, no, it's sad. The agriculture is always on its back foot, always on the defense. And that's, why, we've been pushing so hard to like do something now before it's too late, because the agriculture industry is always too late on everything. They just lose the battle before it even starts. Yep. And you get one black eye, like say the veal industry on dairy, and then it's just all downhill. Yep. No matter how much we show those bull calves in the videos, or the calves getting fed milk, I still get a question at least once a day whether we kill the calf shortly after birth, or how like they'll say that they're in those hutches for the rest of their lives. And I just did a video showing that they're only in there for like a month.
Right.
I just it's just too much.
Yeah, no, it's just people have such a unique way of just making stuff up, and it's just they've been saying these things for so long, it's so hard to fight back against so many of them. And then now that we're actually kind of getting there, they're taking the land right out from under us, and we're just kind of falling on our faces at this point. The only success I've had has been with like more moderate consumers that just so happen to follow the diet. Like they're not major activists, but they follow the diet for one reason or another, and they're more willing to talk about their reasoning behind it. But they're also more willing to listen to to the other side and say, okay, well, I get your point. It's not enough to convince me that I need to change my ways, but I at least respect your lifestyle. And that's
we've had two vegans this entire time that have left like, oh, I like that you take care of your animals. I don't eat meat because I think it's wrong, but I respect you, or whatever. I've had 2 out of like 2,000.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Right. No, and I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope, but the idea is that we show them like, hey, look, we're willing to have the conversation. It's you guys that aren't willing to cooperate.
That's right. Like on my website, like I have a lot of these topics on there, and I actually promote like a balanced discussion, because they'll comment on all my posts, and I allow most of the conversation to go on as long as it's not name calling. But I think a healthy discussion is perfectly fine. So I allow all comments.
Yeah, and that's what Tyler, the California Dairy Dad, that's what him and I have been working on a lot, is finding ways to to show others that we're willing to have the conversation, that we're not just going to censor them or block them out or fight them or anything like that. And he usually actually is pretty good about that. He'll occasionally get random people on his live streams that will just, berate him, and then he has to block them. But most of the time, if it's somebody just asking a question, or even if they're like saying, hey, I don't agree with your lifestyle, he'll at least, say, okay, well, why? Can we talk about this? And if they can talk about it, then they'll have a good conversation, and they may not change each other's minds, but they at least come away like somewhat civilly. It doesn't turn into a screaming match, which is, kind of the, like, that's like a worst case scenario.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with, for some reason, these food choices, people hold it like a religion, where it's like to their core, and it's a morality thing as well. And that's why it's so hard to change minds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because, they're in their mind, like, these farmers are evil and they're morally wrong, and they're like, they should not exist.
Right.
It's really hard to combat that. I just don't see it happening. But at least, like, the normal people you could reach, it's just once they've crossed that line, I don't know.
Well, a lot of times there's been a lack of transparency. If they can actually see what's going on a farm, most people,
Right.
You know how many times that vegan teacher got tagged in one of our videos?
Yeah.
And I guarantee it didn't change her mind.
Sure, no. It's a religion to some people.
It is. They're
Vegan-delicals.
Yeah, no, and they're not in it to have their mind change. They're in it to just throw a fit and to fight. Like, they're, and I've said forever, I don't really mind if people want to follow that mindset, as long as they're not trying to force on anyone else. If people want to be vegan, or if they honestly believe that their reason for being vegan is valid, then by all means do what you want to do. Just don't force it down anyone's throat, and don't spread false information if you haven't done your research.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think that's the danger of where we're at right now, is that the plant-based vegan people are kind of like using censorship to try to block our voices. So.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And that's something that we need to figure out a good strategy to combat with, which, like you said, they're controlling all the major platforms. So it's not like we have a whole lot to do right now. So thank you all so much for tuning in and for listening to this great episode. If you guys want to go check out Steven and over on his TikTok, it's Dairy Muse, Muse. And you guys can go check him out and show him all kinds of support. I'll put all of his links down in the description for all that kind of stuff, so make sure you go check him out. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you all next week. And don't forget, if you ate today, thank a farmer.